Hey everyone, this is Ben with Feisty Chess. I haven't played online chess in a long time. I'm going to get back into it here in a more systematic way. I'm going to record my games and try to talk through them as I play. So let's open with e4. We've been paired with BC03 on leechess.org. Okay, he's playing the Sicilian. The feistiest thing I can think to do here is my usual d4, Smith-Morra Gambit. And let's hope he accepts. The biggest downside to this Smith-Morra Gambit is that black doesn't have to, he doesn't have to accept. So he goes for g6. And already I need to think about how to do this. This game is 15 minutes aside and 10-second increment added in each move, so I've got some time here. But I do have a tendency to get into clock trouble. I'm thinking about knight f3. Let's see if I can get him to take one more time. That seems like a good plan. It's a move I want to make anyway. Give him another chance to take on c3. I'm thinking about after bishop g7 just going for bishop c4 anyway. I have a question mark after my rating. Okay. I have a question mark after my rating because it's been so long since I've played chess online. Okay, d5 seems to make sense as a freeing move. I think I need to take that. e5 is the only other sensible choice here. Yeah, I better take. Probably go into some kind of isolated queen's pawn position where I have a structural defect. I don't mind structural defects if I can gain time, get my pieces out. He probably needs to recapture with the queen here. He's going for knight f6. Bishop b5 check looks like a fun idea here. Making him put a piece on d7 and then coming back bishop to c4. An alternative is c4. How does he protect that d-pawn after c4? Does he have some tricks? c4. I'm on it twice. And e5 doesn't work thanks to en passant capture on e6. So I like c4 here. But bishop b5 seems maybe a little feistier. Maybe I can combine those ideas. Bishop b5, and then if bishop d7, I just trade. And then c4? I'm closer to castling. Okay, let's throw in the check. Already quite a bit behind on time. Okay. I want to swap off the bishops. Boy, I like the looks of that. He'll be the one that's down a pawn. Probably bishop d7, knight takes d7. And then just simply c4. And I don't see how he hangs on to that pawn. So let's do this. Okay. Now I can go with queen takes d4 immediately. He has a check on a5. I don't see that leading to anything useful. Queen take d4 or c4 immediately. Just play c4. Okay. Maybe I'll just get my king to safety. There's no rush in grabbing that pawn. I don't want to deal with any checks on a4, a5. It's a castle. We're going to grab that pawn. With the knight, of course, makes the most sense. Okay. Is anything better? Grabbing a pawn seems... It's fine. It lets my knight develop to c3 next move. Everything's looking good here. I'll look at knight b6. Knight b6 looks like an interesting idea. Okay, rook as well. That works. Alright, I might be safe to play b3 here. And then bishop to b7 should really reinforce d4. That long diagonal makes me a bit nervous. Okay, b3. Knight takes d5. Rook takes... Pawn takes d5. Rook takes here. He's down a whole rook. But he's gonna get the exchange back. That looks pretty bold. He can add more pressure to that, so knight to a3 just kind of invites knight to b6. Let's try b3. No, I should be okay. I should be okay. I'm letting this guy out feisty me a little bit. Okay, I guess he's planning b5, but that should just run into knight c6. So let's just get our bishop protecting our knight. Get it off that c file where the rook could take it. And now, I like the look of this. Not only an extra pawn, but we've got big time central control. Black has completed development. I've got to get my queen's knight out. It looks like a3 might be the place to do that. Probably c3. He could swing his knight into e4, for instance, but even then I can still play knight c3. Everything should hold up. And all of my pieces are protected. Okay. What's the idea here? What's the idea? And I could play bishop to c3, but I don't see what the queen is really doing on a5 either way. So let's play our knight here. I can always bring a knight to e2 if I need to fortify either one of those knights on c3 or d4. I think the position is looking good. Clock, however, that's his compensation for that pawn, is those nearly 7 minutes of time advantage. But the 10-second increment goes a long way. For him, let's see, moves I'd consider. Rook f to d8 is likely, just to get his rook opposite my queen. Okay. Where's my queen gonna go? He wants to push e5. I'm not so sure I care about that. Queen looks pretty good on f6. Let's just match him. Let's match that rook. Okay. Opponent left the game. Or maybe not. Yeah, I took a long hiatus from online chess. Sometimes that is needed. My new routine will be to simply play games where I'm doing this and put it on YouTube. Hopefully my opponent returns. I'm not really looking for this kind of win. Okay. Seems like he's going back and forth between this and another game. Or another internet activity of some sort. Trying to plan out where my knights could go. They've got a lot of potential here. I suppose knight to e4 is one idea, just to trade some pieces off, but then he'll put another knight on f6. But I wouldn't mind getting a couple of knights off the board to simplify things. Could bring a knight to c5. Okay. Looking at knight e4 now, forces a trade. Bottom line is, his knight just has nowhere useful to go. His knight on f6 to make a discovery. We go knight a4. That seems to invite b5 at some point. Okay, let's do this. Let's trade off a knight. Pre-move this. Simplifying when down on time. So knight takes e4, rook takes e4, probably knight f6. And question where my rook is going to go. Keep it lifted with rook e3. I don't know that that's the best place for the rook, actually. Keep it on the 4th rank. That doesn't look quite right either. Rook on e2 would actually protect the bishop, and my knight is no longer pinned. This looks helpful. Okay. Going with b4. Let's get this rook off the diagonal and also fortify that pawn. Right? Oh, I could have tactics here. Could have tactics here. What about knight e6? F takes e6. Bishop takes g7. King takes g7. It's not really getting anywhere. I'll go with this. I need to make a move. My opponent keeps tantalizing me with victory claims in a number of seconds. Looking at queen d2 here, and then I can get in, or maybe rook e2. Queen d2 is probably better, and then I can get in knight c6, which looks super tasty. Well, I can claim victory. I'll give it some more time. Okay. I'm not really interested in claiming victory here. Although I do believe my position is better. If he captures, I'll be recapturing with a c-pawn. So I can pre-move that. Okay. He's still got a solid time edge, but now that he's got the worst position, that will start to erode, I think. Alright, I hoped this chess... I had hoped for a feistier chess game than this. For a little more exuberant chess game. But my opponent... you have to play the demands of the position. You can have a style, but even the top players with whatever styles, even you look at the history of world champions, they all have their very different styles. But I think it's an important point that whatever... In any given position, those two players are much more likely to play the same move than different moves in lots of positions. Maybe the best way to put that is that there's a bigger difference between somebody like me and my rating around 1900 and Tal, for instance, even though I aspire to have a style like Tal. A bigger difference between me and Tal and the moves I pick than between Tal and Petrosian, even though he was quite the polar opposite in terms of style. And that difference just comes down to strength and knowing which moves are good and bad. So you can have a style, but sometimes you just need to play the demands of the position. And there's oodles of Tal games where he had a positional victory, right? I'm reading a book recently called, it's by I.M. Willie Hendricks, called On the Origin of Good Moves. And he kind of takes issue with the narrative form of chess history as it's been told so many times, with Steinitz revolutionizing positional play, really discovering a lot of positional principles. And he says that Anderson, he points out a lot of Adolf Anderson's games, who has a reputation as just sort of a attack at all costs kind of player. Adolf Anderson's games, there's many of them which are simply, positional wins, because when the opponent calls for that, when the board calls for that, when that's the best play, then that's the best play. So I aim on this channel to shoot for feisty chess, for chess that will entertain and show off some fun tactics. But here we go, rook to e2 was our idea, and then we're going to get knight c6 in. But you got to play the chess that the position calls for, of course. Okay. All right, now we're even on time. If he tries to target my b pawn, I can always just slide my bishop back to a1. Still plenty of time, though. Well more than a blitz game, and the 10-second increment means a lot here. Okay. I do like knight c6. I'm not sure exactly what the knight is doing there, but opens up that bishop, keeps an eye on e7. I suppose then e6 is an idea. We can maybe improve the queen first. Just give our king some left. Guard g4. Here's a square that knight might want to go to. I like how my knight prevents e6 ideas, e5 ideas here, in conjunction with that pawn. Queen d3 combined with bishop a3 looks like a fun idea. Gotta watch out for that knight on d4, but if he doesn't unleash that bishop. Okay, he does unleash the bishop. He's on my knight twice. Yeah, it's time to bring this knight to c6. Let's do it. Questioning that move now. After a bishop trades, my rook looks good on the b file, but he can play e6. Okay, he's going for that. Okay. I like the threat this move sets up. Queen to d3. Guards that pawn one more time, but it also sets up a sneaky threat he might not see with bishop to a3. So let's do that. Bishop takes b2 is probably a good move here. I also have knight to e5 now. That could get kind of feisty, threatening some sacrifices. Okay, he goes for it. But now this should win. Bishop a3 should give me a fork on e7. Let's just check it out. And his queen can go to d4. No. Heck, his queen is trapped. His queen is trapped. Okay. Let's just check this. If it's really curtains for him, might as well spend a little time making sure. I don't see any places his queen can go after this, so all right. I haven't had a blind spot myself for lateral queen moves across an open board. It's difficult to see that a move like queen d3 makes a threat like that, and even I didn't see that it actually just trapped the queen. So there we go, black resigned. So, alright. Been a while since I've been on here. Let's just look at the game first without going into the analysis board. Thank you, BC03. Okay, Sicilian defense. I love playing against the Sicilian defense. I've even started thinking about playing it. That may not sound like a radical idea, but I've kind of sworn off the Sicilian my whole life. I think it's a little bit unprincipled, but it has its own principles that I can understand. So anyway, I play the Morra Gambit against it. c3. The main move is of course to take, and then after knight takes c3. White has a lot of compensation for that pawn in the form of active pieces, quick development, very free and easy game, and a long-term positional advantage that, in my experience, more than compensates for the pawn. unless the opponent plays super accurate moves. But there's just a lot of traps. It's a wilderness of danger for black. So most Sicilian players at my level, or at least as many, seem to decline the gambit, and this is one way. I should look more into what the best way is. I think this is one of the solid ways to decline the gambit. I really recommend the book Mayhem in the Morra by Mark Esserman, released about 2012. It's actually my favorite chess book. It's got great, fantastic opening lines, which are full of excitement and sacrifice and gung-ho kingside attacks. But the real reason I like it is it's easy to remember what he talks about because he uses such colorful metaphors in each chapter, and the language he uses is what sticks with me, and that helps me to remember the moves. Anyway, that got me into the Morra Gambit, so I should know this better. I should know how to deal with this. I don't know, knight f3 allowed him to play d5, and then I'm just stuck accepting this. White's fine here. I'm not down a pawn anymore. In fact, it's now black who goes down a pawn. I think queen takes d5 is needed here. He doesn't have to worry about knight coming to c3 to chase that queen away, after all, unless he at some point takes on c3 himself. So knight coming here allows me to keep the pawn, and apparently I think trading off these pieces was the right move. I think maybe queen takes here, keeps a little more pressure, but after c4 it's hard to say where that knight's going to go. So I like white's position here. This bishop on this diagonal looks a little bit dangerous. Yeah, I'm just up a pawn, and I've got good central control. I'm a little behind on development, but things look pretty solid. I think black did find a good way of putting pressure on me. He kept the initiative for a while. Rook to c8 is good. Or queen c7 here would have worked probably as well. Excuse me. Okay, and it's a bold move, I thought. But, you just got to check this stuff out. You can't be too afraid of ghosts along the long diagonal. I thought I'll have time. I got my knight protected once. It's only going to be attacked once with any discoveries. I'll have time to play my bishop here. And this a6 move especially gave me time. I think maybe a move like queen b6, or unleashing that bishop immediately, even with a move like knight to e8, or knight e4 looks pretty active here. A6, he's worried about my knight coming to b5, but my knight was not going to come there, at least immediately, because of that long diagonal and the rook on a8. So this gives me time to reinforce my knight and get things developed on the queen side. I don't understand queen to a5. Seems like kind of a rote move. A lot of Sicilians. The queen ends up coming to a5, but black needs to put up some pressure here. He needs to maybe think about a move like b5 here instead of queen. I can't take with the c-pawn because he's got knight takes d5, which then unleashes his bishop, pins my knight, puts more pressure on my knight, and he's got a nice centralized knight of his own. Yeah, double-edged position, but I think when you're down a pawn, you've got to go for complications. So black sort of let me just complete development peacefully. I didn't want to chase the queen away with bishop to c3 because that's really where my knight wanted to go. Rook to e8, planning e6. I just try to stop that plan, match him. As long as we keep things in balance here, I'm coming out on top. Okay, this allows me to simplify. And my knight is very well reinforced. The bishop is still not guarded on b2, so the knight is in a bit of a pin. b5 now, as we said, allows the knight to come to c6 when that pin is broken. And it doesn't... I mean, the knight on the 6th rank is often incredible. It's often worth a rook. I wouldn't say that that's the case in this game, but the knight does cut off the rook's attack on my c4 pawn, which is really the critical square in this battle. So just reinforcing that, getting my rook off the long diagonal. Knight to f6 expected. I think a good principle in chess is to, when you make a move, make sure it serves, well, at least one purpose, but ideally it should serve two purposes. You'll notice my last move, rook a to c1, got the rook out of the corner, out of the eyes of that bishop on g7, and it also reinforced my c4 pawn, and it also, simply developed a piece and got the rook into the game. So that's 2 or 3 purposes with one move right here. Black plays knight to f6, and now I play rook to e2. Gets my rook out of danger. It also covers that bishop, so the knight's not pinned to that bishop anymore. Okay. h5. I think black needs to, again, make some stuff happen on the queen side. Use that rook on e8 that's not really being used. h3. Okay. I'm patient here. But I think that's more justified for white than black. I mean, I just making sure there's no back rank threats, and also taking the g4 square away from black's knight. I don't think that was much of a threat, but sometimes it's just nice. It's a bit of a small dual-purpose move. Sometimes it's just nice to restrict your opponent's pieces if you don't know what else to do. And I didn't really want to fall behind on time, so... Okay, knight to d7. Interesting, the knight came from d7. And I think this shows that there was some virtue in h3 because, in my move h3, because the knight had no place good to go. So back to d7, I'm trying to reroute to put pressure on c4. I think that's the right idea, but it's clear that black has lost a little bit of time going knight f6 back to d7. Okay, this takes off a lot of the pressure on my c4 pawn and puts a lot of pressure on e7. You'll notice from how the game finished that it also restricts black's queen movement quite a bit. So does that knight right there. But it does put pressure on c4, so that's the right idea. So it was a tactical mistake on black's part. He didn't see that this move contained a threat of bishop to a3. And even I didn't see, again, that it was a queen trap. I just thought I was going to get a fork on e7. So what did black play here? e6. Definitely a thematic move, the right idea, but the wrong time here. You need to deal with the tactical threats as they come up. It'll be interesting to keep track of this as I go and play these games. I've always thought that at my level, which isn't, I'd say, average club player, it's higher. It's I'm around 1900 USCF, 1888 USCF, and for the record, 1931 FIDE. So around my level, even, it's still tactics that are deciding most games, right? So simple tactic here: black to play and not lose. He has to play maybe queen d6 or a knight move to allow his queen some space to retreat. Or bishop takes b2 is probably the best move. Not seeing the threat, however, what looked like a good move to me turned out to be even better, completely trapping black's queen. So that's the game. Okay, I'm happy about how that went. Let me just go to analysis board, see if I can play with the computer function a little bit. Let's turn it on here. Let's look up the opening book here. C takes d4 is the main move. Knight f3 is played sometimes, but black scores very well out of it. And bishop g7, d5. Not many games in that line, but I think that's got to be pretty good for black. The computer says, wow, the computer doesn't like that move. Yeah, okay, I missed queen a4 check. And then I can recapture. No. Queen a4 check, knight c6, knight takes d4. Huh. Not sure I see all the virtues of that move. Let's follow the computer line. Queen a4, knight c6, knight takes d4, d takes e4. So knight takes c6, b takes c6, queen takes c6, bishop d7, queen takes e4. Okay. Centralized queen. I think material is even there. I think I might even be down a pawn, but what's... Okay, this is worth looking into. Let's see the line. No, I'm not down a pawn. I am equal material. He's going to gain some time on my queen. Black's actually a bit better developed. Oh, I have a pawn. I lost track of pawn counting there. I have an extra pawn. Computers love that kind of thing. Well, and so do I. Honestly, in a game like this shows that. So, okay, taking, and it didn't like knight there. I still got this queen takes idea. That idea is more powerful now because I can retake with the queen, I guess, and keep my center. Yeah. Similar idea with bishop though, and bishop seems to like my bishop e5 just as well. Bishop d7. Now it does want to go back to bishop c4. That would have been maybe more principled. My thought was, I'm up a little material, let's just trade some pieces. That bishop is likely to be the bad bishop since I'm going to put that pawn on c4. Probably not a big difference here. Computer still likes it okay. Yeah, now c4. Oh, the computer doesn't like that too much. It wants the immediate queen a5. Rook c8. Okay, similar to the game. Let's see how the computer evaluates what happens here. Yeah, it does like a castle. Now knight takes. Got my pawn. An important pawn. Rook to c8. It does like knight to a3. Let's see how bad b3 was. Oof. Swings a pawn. Okay, this line that I was afraid of. Well, black can get the pawn back. Knight takes d5, and then I can't take back. Is it because of rook takes c8? Yeah, rook takes c1, I should say. Yes, my spider sense was tingling there, but I didn't listen to it. I lucked out that my opponent didn't see it. Because rook takes c8, sorry, rook takes c1, queen takes c1, bishop takes d4. I'm going to lose that exchange back, and that just leaves him with a structural advantage with my weak d-pawn here. Although I'd have to look at the concretes of that position to see just how weak that d-pawn is. But anyway, would have been black's best move there. And I allowed him that. He didn't take his chance, however. And now I fortify d4 and get the bishop off that square so that I can recapture on d5 with my c-pawn. So yeah, it doesn't like queen a5. No real purpose to that move. So white has a big advantage here. Doesn't seem like there's any other major swings. It doesn't like this move. You know, it wants me to keep building. I was eager to get that d4 knight reinforced and to trade off some pieces. So it only says I have a pawn advantage here. It likes b5. Yep, these are the game moves. Okay, looking at knight b6. So knight f6, yeah, not too great. After all, the knight ends up going back. Let's queen to d6 here. Knight to b3 to chase the queen. That makes some sense. That doesn't allow the queen to slide to a5 either to attack my a2 pawn. I just played some sensible moves. Yeah, bishop takes b2, and I'm just up a pawn, and not much more. Yeah, there's the... Okay, likes bishop takes. I didn't even consider that. I should have considered that. But I like setting traps. Okay, now it says I'm only up a half a pawn after bishop takes here. Queen to d3 seemed to do the job and then some, but after bishop takes, rook takes, knight takes d5. Well, what am I missing here? What am I missing here? Bishop takes, rook takes. Oh, knight takes d5, because that pawn is pinned. And then he's got rook takes c6 after that. Okay, okay. I missed these tactics. Okay. So yeah, these things come down to tactics, folks. Tactics, tactics, tactics. Until you get really, really good at tactics, it's going to be really difficult to win games on strategy, because even the most strategic players take their tactical vitamins, and they have to do that. They have to use tactics. If they're not going to play an open attacking style game, they're at least going to use tactics, and everyone's going to use tactics to make sure their moves are safe and check that their opponent can't do things like this, like bishop takes b2, rook takes b2, knight takes d5. So, okay, learn some lessons here. Some tactical patterns there. Watch out for pinned rooks. Black's lesson should be to watch out for trapped queens, I suppose. Anyway, hope this game was entertaining for you. Hope it was instructive. And I hope it was a little bit feisty. More to come on future Mondays, if not more frequently. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.